Well, the global economy is kind of like this Jenga puzzle. We don't know which block, when it's removed, is going to make this whole thing tumble, but we know it will, don't we? Yes, we do. And another bank just tumbled. My goodness, shocking. Not really, because they want you to think that these bank failures that we've been experiencing since 2023 are just, each one is a one-off event. Well, again, if you believe that, there is this bridge in Brooklyn that I'd like to sell you. So let's just talk about the First National Bank of Lindsay failure. One-off or sign of the times? Honestly, it's a sign of the times since the system is so weak. But let's see. The numbers disclosed in the failure don't add up neatly as a one-off bank failure. I was on Wall Street all through the 2006 to 2008 period, Burns said. This is exactly how things get rolling. Totally. I was there too. I was there on Black Monday in 1987 as a new stockbroker. I was there in this 2006 to 2008 period. People think that if they don't see it, that it doesn't have an impact, but all it really does is it leaves you vulnerable. This is the importance of being prepared and being diversified. What would you do? And I need to show you the change and why this is so important to you and to me, because they are testing the bail-in. And frankly, 2008 was just a warning. And I know we're now in 2024, but the reality is the issues that happened in 2008, they're not over yet. They were not fixed. They were just papered over with a mountain of money, of new money, pushing your purchasing power and the money that you work for, try and save, try and grow, down, its purchasing power value down. When I saw the point about covering, so here's the change, covering the other 50% after we liquidate the assets. So what they're talking about here is that the FDIC has come out and said that they were going to back 50% of the uninsured deposits. So all of the FDIC insured deposits are getting paid out and transferred, and people had access to them pretty quickly. I mean, of course, it closed over the weekend, but 50% of the uninsured deposits are being covered. So when I saw the point about covering the other 50% after we liquidate the assets, that's a big red flag for me, because they didn't do that with Silicon Valley Bank or Signature Bank, because those are bigger. And by the way, they weren't globally systemically important banks either. So it had nothing to do with whether or not they were systemically important, why everybody got bailed out. I believe that it just wasn't that the Federal Reserve and the FDIC were ready for the general public to understand and see the bailouts. So now they are testing the water. So all of the bank failures that happened, not just in 2023, but even the one earlier this year, were all bailed out. No losses for depositors, but that's the piece that has now changed. It's just strange that they could have covered that other 20 million, but they chose not to. It's almost like they're creating a precedence. I would agree with that 100%. So if you have those uninsured deposits, or if you have all your money in one bank, it could be a good time to diversify those funds and make sure that all of your funds are at the minimum FDIC insured, so at least your principal is secure. Your purchasing power is not secure, but your principal is secure. First National Bank of Lindsay failure shocks customers. But don't worry, they're reopening as a new bank on Monday. Saturday morning, this is from a customer. Saturday morning, I open my email and I see this message that says the bank is closed. Yeah, they didn't give them any warning. Your accounts are frozen. Call this number. And she explained, I was just absolutely livid. Did that make any difference? No. You can kick and scream. We've seen this before in Greece, in Cyprus, in Ireland, in Portugal. We've seen this before. You can kick and scream. You can bang on the doors, presuming that there's even a door to bang on, and it doesn't change anything. But here's a personal experience. If we can't have access to all of our money right away, then we have to wait until we do get access to all of it. And then we're drawing everything out and putting it in our credit union. So you're going from one single entity into another single entity. That doesn't really make any sense to me. Now, pulling it out, that certainly makes sense, but you want to make sure that you're diversified. That's why if you're holding money in stocks and bonds on Wall Street, you better have some physical hard assets in your possession to be appropriately diversified. I don't want to have to deal with that bank at all, but that bank is gone. They've created a new bank. Well, that bank is teetering as well. All of the banks are teetering. All of their assets, anything that's debt that they put in play while interest rates were at zero, as those interest rates have risen, they're all underwater, including the Federal Reserve. Do you get this? We are all in deep doo-doo. What we don't know is which of that Jenga piece that's going to be pulled out of the economy is going to topple the entire system. And when that happens, you better be diversified and you better have wealth outside of the system. Because if the system says no, what are you going to do? In the Zang Enterprise Sound Money strategy, it's a layered approach so that you have cash that's out of the system as your first line of defense. And then you have your barterable gold and barterable silver as your second line of defense. And then you have your growth component as an additional line of defense, because what happens is the valuations right now, here's gold, this is, say, income producing real estate, that flip-flops. Right? So you want to have your purchasing power intact in order to be able to convert into those other income producing assets. What the physical gold and physical silver do for you is they appropriately diversify you and they hold your purchasing power intact, so that you get to sustain a reasonable standard of living, but you also get to have the wealth transfer your way instead of away from you, which is what happens in all of these cases. The FDIC, it's like dipping a toe. With my daughter, Megan, I said, don't you come out of that room until I tell you. And she dipped a toe out. And because I wasn't paying attention and I wasn't watching her, what happened? Before I knew it, her whole body was out. It's the same way. They've just dipped a toe. They have created a haircut for uninsured deposits. And remember, they're already working on changes to the agreements. When you make a deposit into a bank, they're looking at reform, deposit insurance reform yet again. Don't be caught holding worthless pieces of paper when this whole thing implodes. It is food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, which for me is this, right? Community, we've got to come together in local community and global community. And shelter. The global community is about having a say at the table in the new financial system. Because if we're not at that table saying that we want to have a component of gold, sound money inside the next system that is convertible. I don't care what they say. They can use the term backed, but it's not really backed unless you, the public, have the power to pull it out of the system, to show our politicians, to show our banks how we feel about how we are being abused. They won't be able to do it as easily if we have that component of gold that is convertible. If it's not convertible, it doesn't mean anything. We just saw that in Zimbabwe. And now they're trying to promote it as the only currency. It's a joke. And nobody believes it because they've lived through so many years of the lies and they've seen those lies. I'm trying to show you those lies while you still have an opportunity to do something about it. Because central banks are doing something about it, and a lot of other people are doing something about it. We are at the early stages of a gold rush. Total gold demand reached its highest level in Q2 on record, and it's diversified, right? We're talking about diversification here. Jewelry, ETFs and similar products, technology, central bank net positions, bar and coin, OTC, and oh so many more places. That's why sound money gold has never gone to zero, and neither has silver, because they haven't figured out how to duplicate it in the lab like they have with diamonds and such. That impacts the price. Gold and silver have attributes that is the reason why it's used in every single sector of the global economy. This is why central banks are buying as much gold, more gold, than they ever have historically. They want to retain their freedom and their choice. And that's what I want you to retain as well. And I know that together we can create a seat at the table. We don't need every single person to understand sound money. But if we have a very vocal 3%, we can create that change. We, the people, need to take our power back and do it quietly and peacefully, just by converting your garbage fiat into sound money. And until next we meet, I 100% know that together we have a voice and we can make a positive impact for generations to come. So until next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.